This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you for coming to our essay workshop here, organized by the International Language Institute of Massachusetts and Education USA Argentina. So we have here Caroline Gear who is the executive director of the International Language Institute of Massachusetts, and we also have Chris Elliot, who's the academic coordinator and ESOL instructor. And also you have here we have Jovi Augustin, who is the Education USA advisor at ICANA. And myself, I'm Carolina Gratinian, also the Education USA advisor here in Argentina, Buenos Aires, Argentina, at the Fulbright Commission. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Caroline, the floor is yours.
Great. Welcome. Hi, I'm Carol. Well, I'd like to speak in Spanish, but you guys are fluent in English, and this is the focus is getting you more prepared for college application today. I'm the executive director of the International Language Institute in Northampton, which is 2 hours west of Boston and 3 hours north of New York City. And today we're thrilled to be here and speak to our friends in Buenos Aires and in surrounding areas too. Today's focus, as you can see by the slide, is a college application essay, and you'll have a chance to ask questions with Chris Elliot, who is the International Language Institute academic coordinator and intensive English program instructor. And we're, just so happy to be here, and I'm going to turn off my camera and mute myself and turn it over to Chris.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Carolyn and Carolina. I'm really pleased to be here today and to answer your questions and talk about the college essay. So let's get started. And I'd like to get started, just do a quick overview of what we're going to go over. We're going to discuss what makes a great college essay or personal statement. It's pretty much the same thing. Touch on some academic English tips that are appropriate for your college essay. A quick overview of the steps in the writing process, and plenty of opportunities for you folks to ask me questions in the chat box. And so let's hit the chat box first off and do a warm-up together. I'd like to touch base with you and see what you think. Why is the essay important? And what makes a great college essay? I'm really curious what you guys think. So if you could type a few words to answer in the chat box, and we'll check them out, and I'll say a few words, and then we'll get started. So what makes a great college essay? What do you think? All right, it gives you the chance to get an interview. All right, right? It's a step through a process. It's a tool to help you get to know the applicant. That's right, because the college wants to get to know you. How your brain organizes ideas, organization, that's important. That's a great idea. A great college essay is original. Yes, it shows the essence of the writer. That's a great word, essence, the unique characteristics, what makes you different, right? Presenting yourself. Makes you stand out. That's a great phrasal verb, to stand out. And we'll talk about how you can stand out, give you some tips and advice. Yeah, introduce yourself. Yeah, those are some great ideas. So let's jump off from your ideas and we'll move on to the next slide. And like I said, after we go over some of the qualities of what makes a great essay, we'll give some examples, both on an organizational level and on a sentence-to-sentence level. Oh yeah, and I love what someone just wrote right now. further information that the admissions committee cannot find in the transcripts, TOEFL, or resume. Absolutely. And the appropriate register, right? The right tone, being aware of your reader and adjusting your tone and your level of formality and the personal quality of your writing. All right. First of all, let's just back up on the big picture. How important is it? Just to emphasize the importance of it. You know, depending on the school, it's among the top 1 to 5 most important things the school's going to look at, in addition to the TOEFL score, the resume, and your GPA. Those are the other factors. Extracurricular activities too, the stuff you do after school that shows your passions and connections to the community. And as many of your answers in the chat box suggested, the essay shows you as an individual. You excite the readers by showing you're different. You review the human element behind the transcript, what you don't see in the raw numbers and data. You want to persuade your reader that you're a good fit, that you as an individual are choosing the school where you can make a contribution, where there's a cultural harmony between your values and the values of the school and the mission of the institution. You show the reader specifics about your values, your passions, and your personality. You show your writing and thinking skills. You show why you're applying to the school. And as somebody mentioned in the chat box, the register, and your awareness of the audience and tone, how you come across to people who don't know you. And of course, you're responding directly to the prompt being the question that the school includes in the application. So bottom line, it's important, right? So before we move on, for those of you who haven't seen typical prompts or typical questions, I just want to give you a few examples. Keep these in mind as we move forward with the presentation. Some typical questions you will find on the Common application, and your answers run from 250 to 650 words in your answer. So this is a classic. This is the perennial favorite on many applications. Also often a prompt for the personal statement, which would be relevant both for undergraduate and graduate school. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so important that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story, right? All-time classic, greatest hit application question. Another common one. Describe a problem you solved or a problem you'd like to solve. Notice the emphasis on a soft skill, like problem-solving skills. And then it's flexible enough really to fit any field that you're studying. It can be an intellectual challenge, a research query, an ethical dilemma. Right? Admissions officers love to see people grappling with ethical dilemmas, a tough choice, and how you process. As someone put in the chat box, how your brain organizes ideas. Same thing could be said about how your brain processes challenges and moral quandaries, moral difficulties. Right? And anything of personal importance, no matter the scale. Notice this phrase right here. You don't have to discuss some like earth-shattering event in your life. It can be the smallest thing. It could be the day you went shopping for a pair of shoes. It could be the favorite book on your shelf. It could be how to bake a cake with your aunt. It could be tiny little things that reveal a complex or nuanced view of the world. And then you explained its significance and any steps you took. And one last example, another one about obstacles. How you face an obstacle and overcome or grow as a result. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental. So recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. Notice it can be about a failure. It does not have to be a smashing success or a march of triumph. You just talk about what you learned and how you grew. All right, so those are three, they're common in general and also on the common app. All right, someone in the chat box used one of my favorite phrases, how to stand out. Here are some concepts. Be yourself. You've probably heard that advice before, and it's a cliche, but it's true. Be yourself, not what you imagine somebody else wants. Be interesting, but don't try to sound smart. That means don't use fancy vocabulary. Choose the best word, not like the SAT word, not the thesaurus word. The word that paints a picture, the word that provokes an emotional response like empathy, something that's crystal clear. Good. You want to be different, unexpected, direct, authentic, sincere. And when you're sincere, you show your unique voice. Have the courage to be vulnerable, admitting a mistake and showing growth. The human element. As you guys wrote in the chat, you're showing the human being that's behind the test scores, behind the GPA. Details from your story. And it's a specific story only you can tell. And these details, that's when some more concrete writing skills come to play, where you talk about the things that you see, the things you smell, the things you hear, the things you touch, the things you taste, the 5 senses. And when you're editing the actual line-by-line sentences, you're paying special attention that these details, especially in the introduction or the hook of your essay, that they make an impact. Connect with the zeitgeist. I don't know if you've ever heard the word zeitgeist. The zeitgeist, which means the spirit of the time and issues of today. Show that you're paying attention to the world around you and that you're not focused only on yourself, that you're in touch with current events, with issues that are relevant to all of us and to the reader. Say a lot with a little. Only 250 to 650 words. You know, it's about quality, not quantity. Here's another phrase, the aha moment. Aha. It's an insight and impact and understanding and epiphany. And epiphany is like a sudden realization. That's exciting. I like to think in terms of like aha moment. Aha. When you get excited and you realize something becomes clear, like a light bulb flashes. And of course, you want to stay away from bragging, because that's not sincere, that's not vulnerable. You want to avoid cramming too much information, right? Because you're saying a little with a lot. You're just saying one thing about yourself, and you don't want to fake who you are. You focus on one unique thing about you, not everything about you. Okay, let's get into a little more of the technique. These are some ideas that you can take with you about structuring your essay. Right? One of the most important aspects is your first sentence. And a little later on, we'll go over some example first sentences. And that first sentence is the hook. That first sentence that grabs the reader. And you're going to lead the reader on a journey through the essay, and it's organized around one central theme. You pick that one detail, that one moment, that one idea. And as you do it, you're going to inspire empathy, inspire concern, inspire interest. And as you do so, you reveal your vision of the world, your values, your motivations. And as you do that, here's where you can adjust the structure to best fit what you want to say. There's a narrative story, just basic storytelling. A narrative, when you tell a story with a beginning, middle, and end. And doing that, you'll set a scene. You'll have a who, what, when, why, where. Kind of like a movie. A montage. Then you can pick different moments organized around a theme. You know, like if you see a movie like a romantic comedy, and there'll be a moment where the two lovers get together and you see images of them in all these different places enjoying each other's company. They're walking in the park hand in hand. They're tossing pennies into a fountain, they're shopping in a mall, they're doing all these different things together, and there's usually like a pop song, love song playing in the background. That's a montage. All of these scenes put together. Different from a narrative. Narrative is when it goes in order. Montage is a mix, organized around the one idea. You can organize it like a cause and effect essay, especially if the prompt is about a life-changing experience or individual. A process essay. Some of these might be familiar if you guys have taken essay writing courses and you study this formula of the 5-paragraph essay, cause and effect, compare, contrast, process. You don't necessarily want to structure it like the 5-paragraph essay. You want to be a little more personal, a little more natural, a little more organic than that strict formula. But you can keep in mind that general approach of explaining a cause and effect or explaining a process. And you can always be creative with your organization idea. As long as the paragraphs are easy to read and each paragraph has one focus, and there's a feeling of purpose or momentum or energy going from the beginning to end. And finally, you can culminate with a conclusion. Maybe refer back to the hook. That's called framing in an essay. So if you mention an image like your grandmother's chocolate cake in the first sentence, you mention your grandmother's chocolate cake in the last sentence. That little referring back to the hook. Or some kind of clincher, a final comment. By clincher, I mean it's like kind of like the hook that's at the end. It creates a sense of closure. One thing you don't do, don't summarize. It's too boring. It sounds too much like a grade school or academic 5-paragraph essay. So let's dig into some writing techniques. A few tips to keep in mind, a few acronyms. This is one that I like, KISS, K-I-S-S. I don't know if you're familiar with that or you've heard that. To keep it short and simple or keep it short and sweet. The beauty of simplicity. It's actually more difficult to write a simple, clear, compelling sentence than it is to write long sentences that go on and on with a lot of fancy words and complicated grammar. That's easy. What's hard is to be concise, to use a few words and be precise, to be exact, and to be both at the same time. So KISS, keep it short and simple on a sentence-to-sentence level. The rule of 3, and I'm going to give you some examples of this. The rule of 3 is the beauty of symmetry. It's when you list 3 things, like a thesis statement in an essay that gives 3 reasons for your 3 body paragraphs. It's the same idea. It could be 3 adjectives. You want to describe your grandmother's chocolate cake, and you choose 3 adjectives. 2 might not be enough, and 4 is too many. 3 has this beautiful bump, bump, bump. It could be 3 reasons, 3 effects, 3 causes, 3 things you smelled, 3 things you saw. And I'll give you some examples in a minute. Show, don't tell, one of the favorite slogans or mantras that writers repeat to themselves. You don't say you're nervous, you describe your sweating forehead or your clammy palms or your trembling hands. 5 senses description, things you see, hear, pictures worth 1,000 words, right? Another cliche. So using description, especially in your hook. Choosing one clear word and not many long fancy words. Direct, active, and descriptive language. Avoid indirected, complicated, and vague language. Edit to make every sentence concise and precise. Active verbs, if you ever practice that in a grammar class. Avoiding passive verbs and focusing on verbs that have a strong action that describe something that you did, something you can see, something that the reader can connect to. Varying sentence length and structure. Short sentences and long sentences mixed together. It's more dynamic, it's more effective. You choose a short sentence when you want to emphasize a dramatic moment. Use a long sentence when you need to explore different facets of an idea. Another thing, listen to the sound of language, especially when you're choosing your short words. Words that sound musical. All right, here are a few example sentences. Like, here's a boring sentence. When faced with a challenging assignment, I assess the situation and brainstorm carefully and quickly. Notice you don't see anything. It's all abstract, long words, very technical. I have no sense of the personality. A robot could have written this sentence. Right. Now I'm going to transform it with some personality and some visuals. After squinting at the headache-inducing email, I opened my dog-eared blue journal and scrawled a list of random notions, names, and numbers. Okay, notice squinting, that communicates the idea that you're getting a headache, that it's a challenging assignment. I'm showing you that you're challenged. I'm not telling you you're challenged. It's a blue journal. I see the color. I scrawl. That's an active verb, descriptive verb. It's like when you write quickly and it's all kind of messy. I get a sense of the personality of this person. They have a blue notebook that they carry everywhere. Right? And one last thing, there's the music. There's music to this sentence. The three words to start with N. There's notions, names, and numbers. That's called alliteration. Alliteration is a poetic technique where you repeat a consonant sound in a word. Na, na, na. Notion, names, and numbers. It's memorable. It has personality. Nobody could have written that sentence. A robot would not have written that sentence. Okay. A quick check-in. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Please put them in your chat. If you have a question, put it in your chat. I just want to check in for a moment. Because I know I'm going fast, saying a lot, which we can just keep running through. All right. Sounds good. And in looking back at all this stuff, and these two examples, any questions or comments? Okay, someone asked to repeat the example, so I will keep them up on the screen. Yeah. Someone asked me if this is true at all universities. And as a general rule, absolutely. These are universal principles of effective writing. This is what I learned going through the US education system from elementary school to high school to college, when I was trained as an English teacher, when I was in graduate school. This is what we were taught to teach students, and these are the techniques that, you know, me and my peers and my colleagues used in our academic career, starting from high school, our college essays, our grad school applications, our model essays. Yeah. And for all levels, sure. I think by all levels would be all English levels. Absolutely. These examples are aiming high. You use the vocabulary that you're comfortable with and reflects your English proficiency. Never use a word from the thesaurus that you haven't read and used naturally yourself. Don't fake it. As an instructor myself, I can tell when a student's using a computer for vocabulary or when a student is using their brain and experience for vocabulary. Always do it from your own experience and do it from your heart. The key is to act natural, right? Absolutely, you got it. All right. All right, I'm gonna keep going ahead. I'm going to give just a few more examples. Someone had asked to repeat the example, so I went back. So I'll make sure we have enough time for this example. The rule of three. This is like my favorite. 3 is the shortest pattern, and patterns please the mind. It's like science. It's science. It's a psychological phenomenon. So, for example, when the exam began, my pulse was racing, my thumbs were trembling, my palms were sweating. I got 3 details: pulse, thumbs, palms. Boom. It's a pleasing pattern. Also, that sentence shows you're nervous. I understand you're nervous by the details. And again, this could be the first sentence in your essay. It immediately shows writing skill. It engages the reader. It's exciting. The reader wants to know what happened next. Here's a couple quotes from famous authors, but are very memorable. You're describing a city, and you choose 3 adjectives. Again, any English level, these are not $10,000 vocabulary words. They're not $64,000 ones. The city has never been so uncomfortable, so crowded, so tense. And here's another one with 3 adjectives. 3 adjectives: dry, chalky, and bitter. Someone just chatted an interesting question. For those who learn English and do not speak it daily, does it matter if we read or not novels in English? Interesting question. My first answer is depends on whether or not you enjoy novels. The key to expanding your language skills through reading is read what you love. Don't read what you feel like you must read. You can build your vocabulary reading science fiction novels, reading magazine articles about food, reading celebrity gossip, reading Greek philosophy. It doesn't matter what you read, it matters how you read it. And how you read it is number one, you want to. It's free volunteer reading, that you love reading it. Secondly, make sure that you don't have to depend on a dictionary or translator to understand it. One rule I often tell students is a rule of 5. You grab a book, you start reading it. If you feel like you need to reach for a dictionary 5 times on one page, it might be too difficult. Look for something simpler, easier, or shorter. Another tip is that if you reading a book and you read one paragraph, try to understand the whole paragraph. If there's some words you don't understand, but you catch the meaning of the paragraph, that's fine. Just read that. Move on. Don't worry about every word. Just get the general meaning. And the words that resonate with you, the words that have an impact, you'll remember them. They'll stick with you. And the other ones, you don't need them. You're not going to learn every word in English. Nobody knows every single word. It's the words that you connect with and the vocabulary. And someone was asking about subtitles. Is it better to read a novel? Well, number one, do you prefer novels or movies? The thing about watching movies, the advice I usually give is, or TV shows, because TV shows are nice because they're shorter, like a 22-minute sitcom. 30-minute shows minus the 8 minutes of commercials are like 22 minutes, like Friends. That's a pretty popular comedy show that has a lot of universal themes we can all connect to because it's about a group of friends that spend time together. So it's something you could enjoy watching more than once. So try watching it once with no subtitles to get the flow of the story and the rhythm of the speech. Watch it once or twice. Take a break. Watch it over the course of a week or two. Then come back and then study it with the subtitles. Write them down. write down vocabulary you need to look up, then treat it more like a text, like you're studying it as a text. Then take a break for a few days, come back and watch it again with no subtitles. Your goal is that after watching it 5, 6, 7 times and doing some studying, you can sit back and enjoy watching it like a native speaker, like it's comfortable for you. All right, I'm going to keep going ahead with some more example sentences from the chat box. There is some interest in seeing those. And so let's jump into what a hook is. Okay. Your first sentence in your college essay, and if I could maybe spend time on one aspect of your essay, let's just zero in on the hook. You want to grab the reader's interest right from the beginning, and there are different techniques. You can set a scene with images or dialogue, like the first moments of a movie. You can ask a fascinating question, a short, punchy statement. And I just listed a bunch of more ideas of what that statement could be. Anecdote is a short story. Definition of a term. And by I mean that like your own definition, a creative definition of a term, or create a whole new word and explain it. Give a detail, a contradiction, dilemma. Remember ethical dilemma from that other question. Metaphor, claim, paradox. A paradox is a statement that seems to contradict itself and not make any sense, but if you think about it deeply, it has a certain truth to it. All of those different ideas for an opening sentence. And one tip for that, write your hook later, not first. Right? The first sentence that the reader encounters in your essay may be the last sentence that you wrote. You don't have to write it in order. Here's some example hooks, and I'm going to give you a few that use these techniques. So let's say this is a story about someone who opened a training center for dogs, like a canine obedience school. So here's something like setting a scene like you're in a movie. I jumped back as the dog lunged for my leg, teeth bared and snarling. It's okay, I soothed. Right, dramatic moment, a little bit of danger. The rule of 3. When Smokey arrived for his first day, Smokey is the name of the dog, for his first day of obedience training, he was scared, and I list 3 things he was scared of. And I was scared of him. Oh, now we have a challenge, we have some drama. Anecdote, here's a quick piece of a story. Notice it's like a little cute story captured in a moment of dialogue, a moment of human interaction. When I told my mother I wanted to start my own canine obedience school, she smiled and muttered something beneath her breath about the irony of my youthful disobedience and my newfound passion for enforcing rules. Right? That would probably bring a smile to the face of the admissions officer. Right? And another one, ask a question. And here's a provocative question that we could all personally connect to. So it's universal, but it's universal because you touched on something specific and unique in your experience. How do you respond when you're faced with a physical threat to your safety, yet you literally can't afford to back down? This is the question I faced on my very first day as a dog trainer. So those are like 4 examples of hooks. I guarantee that if that essay falls into the hands of an admissions officer, they will want to continue reading. Okay. And example hook sentences that use the 5 senses. Again, and using the 5 senses, you can do it anywhere in your writing, not just in your hook. Here, the yellow ball hangs, your heart pounds. Here's leaving for college on the first day. And there's a lot of visual description and a lot of active verbs. The third one, I think this is an irresistible hook. The crisis in my school began over a pack of gum. You want to find out what happened. And notice, you have this clear picture in your mind, this little pack of gum. How did this little pack of gum start a crisis, a battle, a war, something dramatic? Another little exam. This one's using a simile, like a smoker. You know, figurative language, a metaphor or a simile, a little touch of poetry. That shows your writing skill and your creativity and your personality. Okay, so those are some more hooks with the 5 sentences. I mentioned this before. I just want to emphasize that all these hooks are introducing essays that may be about an earth-shattering experience or a huge success, but also could very much be about an ordinary event, a small success, a failure that's only meaningful to you. Because it's not what you write about, it's how you write about it. It shows that you have a complex or nuanced understanding of the world. You might defend a point of view many people disagree with. Might explore questions. Why did it happen in your life? What were the consequences? How did you feel? You'll analyze, you'll interpret, you'll compare, you'll explore. Just like someone said in the chat box, how your brain organizes information, how your brain works, and how your brain is yours and nobody else's. It's like, here's how you can think small. Like if you want to be a fashion designer, you like weird hats, maybe you will write 650 words about your favorite hat. That could be a really brilliant essay. If you have a passion for food and travel, you could analyze your greatest or your worst meal. Great opportunity for descriptive language so far. Want to think a little bigger? If you're passionate about a social issue, such as climate change or animal welfare, give examples of how you've tried to influence your family, school, or community. There's someone who has a mission. Right? Life obstacles, get an injury, a loss, or a natural disaster. Again, they could be small, ordinary activities, baking a cake with your aunt, buying a pair of shoes, learning an instrument. Every college application is different because every applicant is different. All right, let's take another break. Any questions? Just want to check in, see everything's okay. Write your questions in the chat box. Should the story be related to your field of study? That's a great question. It doesn't have to be. You may connect it to who you are as a person, which means your values, your motivations. It'll all be it's all part of the same person and the same story, but it doesn't have to be explicit or direct. It can be indirect, right? I would say that it shouldn't be completely irrelevant, but don't feel pressure to make it specifically about if you're grad school, what you think your thesis or your dissertation is going to be, especially in the personal statement. Your statement of purpose is a little different, and I'll mention that later for students who want to go to graduate school. There's a difference between a statement of purpose and a personal statement. This college essay, which is like the same as a personal statement, because it's about your story and your values, it can be about what motivates you, but it doesn't have to prove that you are an expert in your field, for instance. All right, so I've got some more questions. Writing different essays for different applications. For example, if you apply to 5 or 6 grad schools, is it wise to write 5 completely different essays? Yes, it would be wise. You always keep your audience in mind. First of all, the application may have different prompts, so you will respond to different prompts. If you have 2 different applications with the same prompt, like those 3 we looked at, I would still keep in mind what's unique about the school, what's different for the school, how you are a good fit for that particular school. It's generally a bad idea to make one perfect essay and just send the same one to every school. You have to exercise your own judgment, though, on how you might want to tweak. By tweak, I mean make small changes or maybe re-envision the entire essay. And a master's degree, how long do you think the essay should be? The application will tell you how long. You never have to guess. The rule of thumb is the minimum of 250 up to 650, right? For the Common App, they literally in the box, you get to 651 words, they won't let you put in that one more word. Sometimes you can go up to like 800 words. Don't do 800 pages, about 800 words. Look at it this way, 250 words is about 1 page double spaced. You're thinking, once you get up to 500 words, that's like 2 pages, 3 pages, that's a lot of time that you're asking that person to read. If you can't sell yourself or communicate your core identity in 1 page or 2 pages, then you need to keep working on your essay. You need to distill it down to its essence. Anyway, I think that answers the question about the length. And like I said, you never have to guess. It will say, just read carefully. But yeah, 250 to 650 words is the rule of thumb, maybe up to like 800-ish words. The center of this essays are always about showing yourself and letting them know that you are the perfect fit. Yeah, that you're a good fit for the school. Yeah, that's why in response to the earlier question, you want to adjust your essay to each individual audience. All right. And that's that for that. Okay. Just going to do a quick overview of the writing process. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. Just a little reminder and about the importance of spending time over weeks and months, especially if you're applying to 5 or 6 different schools, and you might have 5 or 6 different essays, that and each of those essays might be a little bit different, or they might be totally different. So before, you got to read the prompt carefully. If it's a Common App, they got like 7 different prompts right now, or the application. And if the application is an open personal statement, then you can use the basic prompts from the Common App as well. And you try different brainstorming techniques, mind maps, Venn diagrams when you draw those 2 circles, tree charts, journalist dice. It's kind of a fun game where you roll dice and ask journalists questions. There's journal writing, stuff like that. And then you plan outlines, graphic organizers, blueprints, structures like that. During, you write your first draft to get down the basic ideas. You wait a few days, you revise second and third drafts, get feedback, reflect and wait. You edit 4th and 5th drafts to improve the language. Just remember at the beginning, you're thinking about the big picture, and then you get down to sentences. When you're in the early drafts, don't worry about the active verbs yet. Don't worry about the rule of 3. Don't worry about the spelling and the punctuation. You're still evolving. It's still evolving. It's not until near the end that you try to make things perfect. All right, and then after, you want to proofread for the grammar, the word choice. If you have a native speaker or a professional to help you with the grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors, don't have them change the sentences though, because they won't be in your voice. You have to keep the voice consistent. The reader can tell the difference between something that you would write and what a hired professional would write. Yeah, and just reread the submission requirements, check the word count, stuff like that. And a few more technical stuff. just to reiterate, people have already asked about the words, 250 to 650 words. And like I said, 250 words is about 1 page double spaced. Just because you read the directions, you don't have to guess. They will tell you what they're looking for. I've been asked about titles. Titles are not necessary and generally not common. Add one only if you're asked for one, or if you're inspired with a fantastic hook-like title. There's no rule against it, but generally speaking, you rely on your first sentence to grab the reader. I've had questions just about the terminology. The college essay and personal statement, basically the same thing. However, graduate schools may require a personal statement or a statement of purpose, which are different. Here are the basic differences. The personal statement kind of looks back. Personal statement, just like the college essay we've been talking about, your personal story, values, traits, just like the college essay. Who are you and what leads you here? Okay. Your statement of purpose looks forward, right? Your current and future goals, your plans, your specializations, your expertise, what will you do in the program and beyond. The statement of purpose is a little less personal and more formal. So let's do a quick summary, like what the colleges want: an individual that stands out, concision and precision, the greatest meaning with the fewest words, direct answer to the essay question, a hooky opening paragraph that seizes the reader's interest. You focus, you stick to one point. A natural, comfortable style, not a forced, fancy style with thesaurus words. An essay they want to keep reading, sure, and the grammar, punctuation, and spelling. And these are important for all types of writing. I think there's a question in the box about how this applies to other types of writing. Absolutely, in your career, all sorts of articles, creative writing, academic essays, all of that. All right, I'm going to throw a few more example prompts and going to give you an example approach to a prompt. Write about a time that you failed at something and how did that failure affect you. Discuss an accomplishment or realization or an event that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? Yeah, so think about how you might answer those questions, keeping in mind all of this advice from the big picture down to the sentence and the hook. All right, so I'm going to give you an example approach for some of these sentences, or I mean some of these questions, some of these prompts. So this is back to the classic from the earlier slide. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Right. Again, this would be, if you're not sure what to write about for a personal statement, this would be a great place to start. So you ask yourself questions when you're brainstorming, and this brainstorming, you can do it in any kind of technique. What about your history or personality makes you different? What do you care about that others don't? What makes you feel proud, excited, frustrated? What do others say you're good at or bad at? What successes or failures have shaped your character, your hopes, your dreams? And here's some examples of what someone might write about. You have freedom of choice. Does your collection of original Blue Note jazz vinyl LPs define you? Could reading the titles on the spines of your record collection tell the story of your life? Could it tell the story or the history of racial justice, your neighborhood? So you see how it can be just about you, but it also could connect to bigger issues that resonate with the zeitgeist, the issues of today, connected to your neighborhood, your community, your country, your region. Here's something for someone who might become a vegan or a vegetarian or is interested in animal welfare. Here's a story idea. Again, this is very personal. That happened maybe to one person one time in the world. How did looking into the eyes of a cow on a farm inspire you to become a connoisseur of vegan soy milkshakes? And what turned your passion for animal welfare into entrepreneurship and pursuit of an MBA? Right? Now, you don't have to go and connect it to being an MBA. Someone asked before whether you have to make it directly tied to your field. Now, let's say you're pursuing an MBA, you will touch on in this story that this experience on the farm maybe inspires you to sell vegan soy milkshakes at your high school, and that was your first taste of entrepreneurship or starting a business. So you'll touch on starting a business, but you're not just hammering away at that you're this ambitious entrepreneur, that you want to become a millionaire or start this big company. That's generic. That's not so interesting. But what could be interesting would be that moment that you became passionate about this issue and you had this epiphany, this aha moment looking into the eyes of a cow. That will be an unforgettable essay, and I bet the reader would want to finish reading it. And here's another one, but touching on family. This will be true for some people. How has being raised by same-sex parents or growing up with 3 stepbrothers taught you something about family values that not everybody seems to understand? Another, it's personal. It could be connected to larger issues. Right. And here are some more example prompts. I'll give you just a couple quiet moments to look at them. And as you look at them, think about how would you brainstorm questions? What stories from your life do you think are most powerful, unique, or impactful? Okay, so these are more example prompts, and I hope you're starting to get some ideas about how you might make a unique and memorable and irresistible essay. So to sum up, recap one more time, here's some top takeaways. Colleges, in the US, universities, they value diversity. They want you to be different. It's true, as someone mentioned in the chat, colleges seek the right fit. They want to know why you would choose their school specifically over other schools. So that's why when someone asks me about, should I write 5 or 6 different essays? Yeah, unless you get lucky and you got this one essay, I think this fits both schools, but still, I think the reader, admissions officer will know, like, this is generic. He wrote this for 100 schools and just sent them out blind. No, it's got to be connected. Even if it's in a subtle way, it just might be subtle because you're showing some care and interest in the culture of the school. Each school, like a company, might have its own culture, its own feel. So the better you can address the identity of the school, the more effective your essay will cut through the clutter. All right. And so let's wrap things up, start wrapping things up. And in the chat box, I'm like curious, write something new or something interesting. Type a few words in the chat box. Name something that makes a great college essay. Something new, something that you found surprising. Did you find anything surprising? Thought-provoking hooks. The 3 rule. Yes, the rule of 3. I'm glad someone's going to take that away. Someone wrote reality. I love that. Yes, let's be real, folks. Let's keep it real. A good narrative, storytelling. Storytelling shows your values and motivation. Easy to read. You want to keep reading. Right. Admissions officers, typical admissions officer might spend 2 to 3 minutes, kind of like the length of watching a television commercial or a series of commercials, like during a commercial break. That's kind of like a commercial break to sell yourself. So that's only 2 to 3 minutes. You can't say everything. You just say one thing, one takeaway. Yeah, originality. I agree. Yeah. I got a last question about word limits. What about the word, if it only has a maximum word limit, how many words left could you leave? Yeah, I imagine what you're asking is, if it says, maximum 650, is it okay to make it 300, make it 400? Like, where do you stop? It's an art, not a science. I can't give you an exact rule. It's about quality and not quantity. And remember, 2 to 3 minutes is the maximum time that you'll have a pair of eyes on your essay. So if you can make your case and make an impact in 400 to 500 words, even though it says 650, go with that. I feel like I have a masterpiece at 450 at 500 words, and I don't need to add anything. Keep it. Don't add words or make it longer just for the sake of it. Just because, well, it says 650, and if I only put 500, it'll make me look bad. No, it won't. It will not make you look bad if it's 500 and the limit is 650. I think maybe making 250 if the limit's 650 would be pretty tough, but it can be done. So I wouldn't go crazy short like 250 if the upper limit is 650. But if the upper limit is 400, then 250, 270, that's fine. That's great. Okay, and any final questions? All right, well, thank you for coming. I'll give everyone another minute in case there's any final questions. We're just about out of time.
It doesn't look like they have questions. You've given a master class in essay writing, so thank you very much, because you were so generous with the information you provided our students and our audience today. So yeah, you were really
it's a pleasure.
clear.
Yep. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. It was fun to go over some of these ideas.
Sure. And everybody, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts about the application process, make sure to contact us. There, I've left our email addresses in case you need examples or any other resource. We are here to help you. Education USA is here to help you through the whole process. So thank you again, Chris. Thank you very much for this amazing presentation.
You're welcome.
And I'll be sharing the recording with you, okay?